Yeah, all right.
All right, the time is 5:05. We're going to start this meeting. Casey, could I get a roll call vote, please? Or just a roll call, I guess.
Katie? Here. Christy?
Present.
Dana?
Present.
Dan?
Present?
James?
Present.
Thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the absences, please?
I'll move to approve the absence of Dan Stuckey. Eric Stuckey.
Second on that? I second that. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Do we have any motions to approve the new business going forward? No.
Are you looking for a motion to adopt the agenda?
Well, do we have anything in addition to?
The only change that I would like to make is that the applicant for 814 Southwest Nidge needs to get to another meeting. If we can move that to be the first.
Okay, great. Do we have any public comments and non-agenda items tonight? No. Could I get a motion to approve last week's minutes, please?
I will move to approve the minutes from the Historic District Commission meeting on December 7th, 2024.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we got no addition. Would you mind reading the disclaimer?
Yeah, and then could we also have a motion just at some point to rearrange the agenda as well?
Yeah.
I can read the disclaimer, and then you guys can make it if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Once it loads for me. Chapter 16, Section 22 of the City of Kalamazoo Code of Ordinance states that historical preservation is a public purpose. To serve that purpose, the Historic District Commission is hereby charged with the following responsibilities. A, the Kalamazoo Historic District Commission is empowered to regulate work on the exterior of all historic resources and non-historic resources in historic districts in the City of Kalamazoo, and shall otherwise have all powers invested in historic district commissions pursuant to the Local Historic Districts Act, MCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169, as amended in 1992. B, to regulate work on resources which, by city ordinance, are historic or non-historic resources located within local historic districts, including but not limited to the moving of any structure into or out of, or the building of any structure in an historic district. The following documents are available in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department located at 245 North Rose Street. These documents will help assist property owners in understanding the responsibilities of owning property in a local historic district. MCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169 as amended in 1992, which is the Michigan Local Historic Districts Act. The Code of Ordinances of the City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, specifically Chapter 16, which deals with historic districts. Secretary of the Interior Standards for the Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Buildings, 1990. Standards and Guidelines for Kalamazoo Historic Districts, and maps of Kalamazoo Local Historic Districts. These documents and maps are also available on the City of Kalamazoo website at www.kalamazoocity.org/historic preservation.
Thank you so much. And then one last thing, could I get a motion?
I'll do it. I move to amend the agenda to have us consider 814 Southwest Nidge first.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to adopt the formal agenda.
I move to adopt the formal agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then moving on to the applicants, we're moving up 814 Southwest Nidge.
Well, hey, hi.
Hello.
Love seeing someone from the Vine on the board chair position. So yeah, I'm here to ask for permission to change windows per the historic district requirements. So we are changing the window with the exact window that's being asked for by the historic district, and we have some pretty dilapidated windows in a 120-plus-year-old building. We've owned the building for about 10 years, so about 110 years of non-maintenance windows is what's brought me here today.
Great. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Are you looking at replacing windows in just one of the units, or like I'm looking at the Google map was the best way. I could see
Yes.
like the upstairs.
Yeah.
It looks like there are actually like 14 windows up there.
Absolutely.
How many are you looking to replace?
Because the process is kind of inaccessible to get the whole building approved at the same time, my hope is that you'll allow us to do one unit, which is my worst unit, which is leaking into the flooring. So I'm trying to do that window so that I can show you what we're going to do in an area that's not super visible. And then, yes, you'll see me back again because I will be either asking unit by unit or asking for the whole building. That's my intention.
So just one unit, two windows right now.
One unit,
Okay.
two windows right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
These are on the second story,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
So there was a photo up there that had the rainbow mural that's above the Bengal Beanery. I tried to take as many angles as I could. They're not visible from anywhere, from the street, any part of the parking lot. Not that that matters, if I might add, because windows that are visible also may need to be replaced as well and are just as important as non-visible windows to tenants and owners.
And you mentioned in the application that they're single pane, correct? They're
Double
double
pane.
pane? Currently, they're double pane? No, currently they're single pane. Okay, thank you.
I was a little intimidated by the process, so I've brought my contractor with me in case you have questions that I can't answer.
And just confirming these would fit in the existing opening, so no other work needs to be done, correct?
There will be no brickwork done,
Yep.
correct?
And do you have an expectation if you get this approved for these windows that aren't shown, that the rest of the windows will get approved as well, even the ones that are shown?
Expectation is maybe not the word I would use. I expect that we will look at this individual project and then I will bring other projects before the board and that we would look at those together.
Okay.
But yes, I've been the property manager there for 8 years now. The building is in quite disrepair. I've done what I can with storm windows, which was very costly to the owner and didn't really protect the building. And my ask is really more about protection of the building. It's not just the windows, but if water is getting into the building, I actually can't protect the building the way that you want me to either.
Are you going to remove the storm windows once you have these good windows in place then?
Yeah, on the, well, what you said on the Google map, so that second story, so the south and west windows have storms on them, but the north and east do not because it's about 10 grand. And if we get the new windows, it would be, it's just, we're going to take the storms off and I paid $7,500 for those.
Yeah.
And we will not be able to reuse them.
Great.
And that I did in 2019, so that those storm windows have gotten me to this point. And I think that I've been talking with the historic district about replacing these windows for about 3 years.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described in the application as it complies with Secretary of Interior Standards 2, 6, 9, and 10.
Thank you. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
All right. Casey, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Katie?
Yes.
Christy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
So I love that. May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there any way that, and maybe you could just, you don't have to answer me right now, but if there is a way for the commission to consider working with the neighborhood association to be the example for the neighborhood of what you'd like to see when window projects are done, I would love that. I would also love to have the commission come in. I'd be happy to show you units and kind of show you the condition of windows if anyone's ever invited you to do that in, since it is going to be potentially a large ask next time I come to you. But any guidance with regards to how, I guess in my mind, since I work for the neighborhood association and it's a staple building in the neighborhood, I kind of want to show others what's possible.
You know, informally, I don't know if I have the authority to go out there and speak for the commission out and about, but you know, I stop by the building there pretty often, and would be happy to answer any questions I could. You know, we could do maybe Luis is obviously the liaison and could definitely do more than me, but I see your trepidation with the commission, and I just wanted to put out publicly that we have an extremely high approval rate, and we're pretty approachable. So like if you have any questions or concerns specifically, I mean, you start with Luis, and yeah, we're super excited with the project you're doing and would love to help. Yeah.
Let's have coffee sometime.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah, I'd love that. And I appreciate how actually easy this process was. The word on the street is not that.
No, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, it's actually seemingly pretty intimidating and inaccessible is what my initial glimpse of it was. So my hands are sweaty, and I brought my contractor with me. And this actually went much better than I planned. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, spread the word.
I'll add to the.
You know, I talk to a lot of people, so I'm happy to do that. And also, you know, we have a digital newsletter. You guys feel free to put anything you want in there. I'm slipping in diagrams from probably 1992.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to add really quickly that I also appreciated your consideration for protecting the historical features inside as well for your residents too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I definitely think that it's the best thing for the building. It's definitely the best thing from the tenants, but once water gets into that brick and into that flooring, it gets harder to repair. And we don't have the kind of funding that some people have.
Thank you, guys, and I will get the certificate of appropriateness out to you by the end of the week, and just make sure that you get all of their necessary permissions before you begin the work of doing that. So,
Absolutely. Cool.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much. 1528 West Michigan.
I do not see that applicant here. If you guys want to save it for later consideration in this meeting, we do have an applicant that is here. So.
Okay, great. 111 Portage.
All right, hello.
Hello.
My name is Beth Johnson, and I am representing what you guys know is 111 Portage. I know it is 200 East Michigan. It's got two addresses, believe it or not. This building was brought to me, I'm with Bosch Architecture, so this building was brought to me after the roof had a fire on it. That was in August of last year. And basically, with the fire damage that was done only to the roof, but the amount of water that was put on the roof has then kind of migrated all the way down to main level. And basically, the owners have decided that they wanted to refinish level 2 and level 3. So level 2 was originally an office building, or an office portion. Level 3 had 3 apartments on it. Level 1 is a brewery. Well, it's a restaurant. I guess they don't really brew in there anymore. So that's going to stay as a restaurant. Right now, Saugatuck, I believe, has pulled their lease, but they're looking for somebody else. So if you know anybody that's looking for a place, let them know. So what happened with the fire was, so it was basically on the roof. It never penetrated any of the structure. The firemen were able to put it out, but because the stair that goes from the third to the roof was a spiral staircase, and it created some issues for the firemen with their equipment to get up it. I barely fit up it. So with that, the owners decided that they'd like to put in a staircase that goes from third to roof, and so that the residents can, again, have a deck on the roof, and then also make it more accessible to firemen. So with that, we are looking at the south side of the building in the upper left-hand corner. So we're looking at doing a vertical siding, metal or maybe fiber cement. We haven't quite decided on the final materials of it, with the deck that you can see in the larger picture on the right. So again, the stair is going to come up and kind of sit in that housing. So the outside wall, the south and the east portion, will be flush with the existing brick. But as you know, getting brick that's 100 plus years old to match doesn't always work. So we're hoping to be able to use a different material, something that complements it. I guess that's pretty much what we're looking for. Obviously, the staircase will be a metal stair that does meet today's ordinances and today's codes, basically, to have access to the roof a little bit more accessible. That roof, if you're not unaware, actually carries 3 or 4 buildings over. So you can walk the entire thing, if quite a few buildings if you wanted to. So I think it's a good thing to be able to add it for the firemen and anybody else that needs access up there.
Okay. Is this, it's hard to see from the illustration, is the new additions viewable from the street?
Only on the back side of it. So on the front side, on Michigan side, no, you can't see it. On the Portage side, no, can't see it. So it's just going to be on the back and the east side. So Bates Alley is where you'll see it from.
Okay. Yeah. It looks pretty necessary from where I'm sitting, and it looks tasteful the way you're integrating new construction with historic features.
Do you have any proposed materials for the decking portion or the railings?
At this point, no. We're going through site plan approval, and obviously the firemen have requested them not to be combustible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there'll be non-combustible materials up there, and it'll meet the ordinance for size-wise. That building also has the bulletin board on it. Mm-hmm. Is that the right word? Big structure. Mm-hmm. Billboard, thank you. Yeah, so that is one of the other things that we're taking consideration. So keeping the size down, keep the occupant load down, and then also making sure that we don't have anybody that's tampering with that. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think the fence, you'll never even see the fence up there. It'll sit off this edge of the wall, so we have our fall protection. That's basically what that's doing, is fall protection, just making sure nobody's walking on the roof getting into things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not really relevant for our work, but I was curious, may have missed you saying, is the deck for residents or for like future restaurants that would occupy the space?
No, just for the residents.
Residents.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? If no, then maybe a motion?
I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described in the application meeting Secretary of the Interior Standards 2, 9, and 10.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Casey, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Katie?
Yes.
Christy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Awesome. So it has passed. I will get out the official certificate of appropriateness by the end of the week, and then I'll communicate it with the site plan folks as well, that you have the approval for this too. So.
Also, I know we have site plan meeting, I believe, tomorrow. So.
Yep, you do. Yep. So awesome. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that just leaves us with 1528 West Michigan. Do we want to keep going without the applicant here, or?
No, the security guard is here now. I sure hope they're not. I'm sorry that it's sideways. I can at least kind of read for you verbatim, I guess, what the project is. Once I pull it up online, too. Once it gets done loading. So it's really just the removal of the old sign and the installation of a new sign. I think it's really important to, bless you, to remember as well that when the historic district was made in West Main Hill, this was considered to be a non-contributing structure. So therefore, it is still a non-contributing structure to the historic district. This is the old Bruno's building, so they're proposing taking down the Bruno's sign and then putting up their own sign for the new restaurant.
I think I saw something that they're like auctioning or selling the Bruno's sign to pay for the removal of it because it, not to make any profit from it, but just taking it down is going to be a hefty fee.
Again, it's completely your guys' prerogative what you do here. If you decide to hear the case right now or you decide to postpone, your prerogative.
I think I feel like I would be interested in postponing it. One thing, I'm not sure, I haven't done the research, but I have a feeling that maybe that sign was made by that famous Kalamazoo neon sign maker. Like there's one in the museum.
We just have to be super careful because since it is non-contributing, the main consideration that we have is how does this impact buildings that are contributing in the historic district?
Gotcha.
I had the same impressions when I started, but then when I dug into it and found that it was non-contributing because the building was likely built around 1961 and there just wasn't that much distance. It's like 46 years old by the time that the district was established. It was deemed non-contributing. I have a feeling that most of the adjacent buildings surround, I don't have it in front of me, but most of the adjacent buildings, I'm guessing, are also non-contributing. The biggest thing that we're looking at then is how does it impact contributing structures in the immediate vicinity, more or less.
Yeah. When does a building that was non-contributing when the district was formed become contributing just because so much time passes?
It doesn't necessarily work like that. I think it would need to go back into the ordinance and then say, we'd like to change this from non-contributing to contributing. I don't know if that would necessarily be an ordinance change, but I presume that it would be, because all districts are established through an ordinance. Comes the city commission hearings and all of that.
Again, only because it feels like that building is, even though it's no longer a pizza restaurant, is so iconic of a certain snapshot of Western's campus and time. I don't know, yeah. So.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Do they need historic district commission approval to remove that sign, even as a non-contributing building? I heard word of the auction for the sign before this came across our plate.
So the sign is still up. I mean, I think that realistically people can do whatever they want. And I'm not trying to be flippant.
No,
there would just be ramifications therein if you do things and you don't follow the correct channels. And that might have been why who knows why the auction went forward. Perhaps they were not hip to the situation and who knows why.
I just mean, are we voting, is that part of our vote tonight on whether they can remove the existing neon sign in addition to putting up their own?
That's what they put in as the removal and
Okay.
the installation. So that's how I would take it, yes. Sorry that I had a roundabout way of answering, but yeah.
Do I have a motion to either postpone this till the people are here or a motion to pass it as written?
I'll move to postpone until our meeting on March 18th, 2025, and direct the applicant to be here. Yeah.
I second that.
Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Katie?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Okay, so for those watching from home, this one did get postponed until March 18th. I will be sending out the postponement notice to the applicant this week to let them know that is the situation.
Thank you for that. So if we have no other applicants, would you mind talking about the coordinator's report?
Yeah, and there's, I think, one more.
Oh, is there another application?
Not an application, just the annual report.
Oh,
And
annual report, yep.
Trust folks have had time to read it. It's pretty cut and dry it's just pretty cut and dry. I noticed afterwards that I need to make some changes for Dan and Dana. You guys' terms have both expired, I found. But you're permitted to stay on until we find replacements. We put out a call, I think at the beginning of this year for new folks. So, I mean, if you guys want to leave, you can, but I would appreciate, I guess, your continued volunteerism.
Yeah, I love being on the board. Is there any openings in the other one?
There is not right now, but I think that there might be some vacancies coming up. If you want to shoot me an email, I can let you know what that looks like as well.
Great.
Your guys' ends on January 1 and theirs ends in March. So there's like a 3-month stagger between the two. That's the only thing that I missed, I think, when I was going through it, that I noticed once I was putting this together. I think, interestingly enough, we had the same amount of cases this year as we did last year, which that was mind-boggling to me. We, I think, had more commission cases perhaps this year than we did last year. We also had the same amount of denials this year as we did last year. I didn't necessarily know how to count some of them because one denial that we had was a denial that we needed to make on 808 West South Street for the installation of a deck on the rear of the property. We had to deny it because we could not get in contact with the applicant and we didn't want to go over the 60-day rule. We simply told him just come back, and he did get approved the next time. So, I mean, I guess it was a denial, but it's also an approval, and perhaps they would counter themselves out. We also know that number 5, 911 South Park, got denied the first time, and then it came back and got approved with a slightly revised thing. Mm-hmm. Depending on how you count, then that means that we would have only had 3, I don't want to say true outright because the 9/11 did need to change, but 4 or 3 denials. That means that if we're looking at commission approval rate, that's 88% commission approval rating, and if we're looking at overall approval rating with all the administrative ones that I do, it was actually north of 99%. So it was 99 and some change, but I didn't feel like typing out a string of numbers, or I didn't think that was pertinent. We did not, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think that is pertinent because, like Jen's, nervousness to, put something through the Historic District Commission. I've just talking with people on the street, I've heard and tried to allay those same fears. And so that might be an education thing where we should publish that somewhere and say, hey, listen, 99% of things applied for are approved. And, it's super approachable and a real positive.
That could be distributed to the owners at Historic, in the Historic District.
Luis, you should offer to write an article or something for the Vine.
I think I did one time.
Okay.
I'm only laughing too because distributing it to this will go into the city commission stuff, which I know. I mean, it is a public document, but I don't know how many civic nerds there are out there necessarily. I know that I'm one, but I do agree, and this maybe is a task that we can. If there's any HPC folks watching at home, we can also speak with them as they're kind of the educational and outreach arm of historic preservation in the city of Kalamazoo. So perhaps that would be something they'd be willing to take up in some capacity. I think that we have often confined ourselves to education in a very practical sense, but there's a lot of logistic education that needs to be spread as well surrounding the application process, surrounding these approval ratings, surrounding what preservation is, because I think that there's often a misconception as well that we get from TV maybe that this is a club for only certain folks, and I don't think that that's the case at all, and that's something that I really strive to make sure that people know that I think that preservation is for everyone, and we want to make sure that everyone knows that we don't want to be an exclusive group in any capacity. So thank you guys for that. Mailing stuff out to every person gets a little bit pricey sometimes. There's 1,300 owners of properties, I think, roughly in the historic districts, give or take some. So it's not cost prohibitive, but getting everything together, I guess that would be a great thing for maybe an annual newsletter or something, just to let them.
What about the housing inspection newsletter? At least that would get people who are going through the housing inspection process, add something in there, because they always talk, that goes out, what, twice a year?
Yeah, it might be.
Maybe just a little something in there?
Yeah.
I mean, it would get some people at a reduced cost.
Yeah, I agree.
We could also utilize the neighborhood associations, and if we had like something written specifically for them, I mean, if, does every neighborhood have a portion in the historic district? Maybe not.
Every neighborhood, no. So Stewart does, West Main Hill does. Rose Place is technically Vine. Vine is obviously Vine, but Vine also technically extends into downtown when you get to South Street.
Yeah.
These are, artificial divisions, I guess. I think that most people might think that maybe a little bit joined in with Vine anyways.
Yeah.
That's my impression, but those places do have established neighborhood associations. Haymarket or downtown, I think that there are business groups that we could also share that stuff with as well.
So saving some of that mailing and targeting it too. So like when they have, their neighborhood association meetings, and if something comes up, then, maybe someone would vouch for us. And
we could probably do a mailer, and I would include other stuff in there. Now, this would be, I think Sharon used to on and off, perhaps maybe always on, do an annual newsletter. So this would be a good stat to share.
Well, and I think too, looking at the membership section of your annual report, I mean, most of us do live in historic districts and we serve on here. So maybe we just have like an image problem. Maybe it's communicating to people that like we are volunteers who live in these homes just like you do. And we understand what you're trying to do and what you want to do. And so make it less intimidating, and that we are relatable, because most of us have been through a lot of these issues ourselves.
yeah.
And then I did have a question on your list of denials. You've got 911 South Park, which we did technically deny once, but then we did approve it also. So just calling out that that's kind of a wash on the denials list.
For
Yeah.
both that and 808s.
Yeah, so like two of them were kind of.
Yep.
So I think that's also in our favor. That was good.
Yeah. And I think that we do have a very high, I only didn't make that caveat on 911 because it changed a little bit for South Park, but I agree with you there. This would probably be some kind of great joint project to look at between the HPC and the HDC, just for that outreach end of things. And again, I know that some folks weren't able to attend the annual training that we had. It's always good to be able to refocus and look at the things that we're concerned with, because I think that both groups can get out of touch very quickly with what the other group is doing. The HPC right now is really concerned with helping folks through the administration of grants. Is a big thing that they're doing to nonprofits. So we're just kind of ramping up for our second round of that. Really interested in kind of being more inclusive and telling the history of Kalamazoo and trying to open up those efforts. They have a subcommittee that's called like community-wide engagement, some hands-on workshops, and then other things, but they don't necessarily have something that's dedicated to, again, I don't know, and I'm sure that I can coin a term for it, but looking at the logistic education of everything outside of the practical hands-on physical preservation of buildings, some of the other things of understanding that I by no means think that this is a scary group in any capacity. I don't think anyone here bites, and that oftentimes when we have these meetings, it offers up an opportunity for us to be able to talk to people, understand what's going on. I always like to say that generally there's not a lot of really hard and fast no's. It's just about what can we navigate to make sure that we're in compliance with our rules, and try to find something that's satisfactory for the applicants as well. So I do think that that's something that we should look at. I can reach out to the HPC about that. I'll see some of the members tomorrow and continue to understand how can we engage with the public, right? To let them know that this isn't scary, going through the process is okay. You know, this is an extension of the city. I think we are here to help, and we're here to make sure that people, again, can utilize their houses, can stay in their houses, can stay in their properties. We never want to try to push people out because of this.
Yeah, and I think it's important to add that by enforcing or interpreting those standards, we are ultimately trying to preserve the value of those historic properties that they live in.
And neighborhoods.
In neighborhoods.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the annual one. Do you have a monthly coordinators report?
Yeah, this one is much more boring. It's really just I can't get this to go away. It's really just the numbers. For some reason, one of them filled in blank, so I apologize for that. I've only had 2 administrative reviews thus far this year. It's winter, so stuff is coming in slowly, I guess. I forgot to put them on, but I can include them on next month, so I do apologize for that. As I just mentioned earlier, 2 of you guys have, technically turned off, but you're permitted to stay on per the bylaws until we find your replacement. That's proven to be difficult with this group. They really flow in for the HBC.
I have a question about Dan's term. It says his first full term. Is that true, or is he on end of his second term?
Yeah, I just didn't update them. I noticed once I put it together.
I was going to say, you got 3 more years if you want it.
I think I've been on for 6
Probably
years.
6, yeah. So I'll get that updated when I submit it to the city commission. They review it and look at it. We've put out calls before. When Jeremy was still the chair, he put out calls in the AIA, American Institute of Architects, to try to find other architects, because one member of this needs to be an architect registered in the state of Michigan. I don't think since I've been here, we've been able to get one to bite, and I've pushed pretty darn hard to try to get someone. So just things to consider. 2 other things. We put out the call for nominations for the Historic Preservation Awards of Merit last Friday. I had an oversight. I'll get the actual application up, I think, this week as well, so people can actually submit them. People can also just reach out to me, and we can talk about it as well. Those awards are usually held towards the end of May. I always try to make them in the last month of May as a kind of nice little end to Preservation Month. May is Preservation Month in the city, or in Michigan, I think throughout the nation actually. And then we are also looking tomorrow. We are going to have a pre-application meeting for the O'Connor Fund for Historic Preservation in the City of Kalamazoo grant. So that's for nonprofits that are 50 years of age or older, with some other caveats on that as well. The meeting is just so folks can come down and learn about the grant. I'm going to walk through, again, the logistic, boring stuff of filling out the grant, but I'm also going to talk about the Secretary of the Interior standards so people can kind of know what they should and should not be doing if they're going to apply for the grant. And then I think I'm going to talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of grant applications that I've seen. We awarded 3 last year, that 2 were accepted, and 2 of them were not in historic districts. So I think that we were trying to get out of the historic districts in giving this money as well. I don't think that it's a good opportunity to show that there are buildings that are outside of the historic districts, and the historic districts are something that were created, and there's, stuff can get mixed up in those creation, but there are buildings that are outside of those areas that are just as important as the buildings that are inside the historic district. So I was really pleased that we were able to get out of those areas, and I was really pleased that we were able to give money. We guaranteed $20,000 to go out last year, but we only ended up giving about $14,500, let's say. But that's a good chunk of money to go out, I think, from a Historic Preservation Commission. So if people are associated with a nonprofit or they'd like to attend to learn more, feel free. We're going to be at KNAC tomorrow, which is 315 West Michigan, from noon to 2. And this is also, I guess, one last plug for nonprofits out there that are over 50 years of age. If you're interested in attending, we did send out letters to all of the people who met the age requirement and nonprofit requirement earlier this year, so a couple weeks ago, I think. So looking forward to that tomorrow. Hopefully we can have a good grant round this year again, and I'm looking forward to the applications that we're going to get.
Roughly how many are there?
nonprofits that are over 50 years of
50 years old,
age.
yeah.
168.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's more than I would expect.
Those are unique ones, so I cut out all duplicate owners and stuff. Yeah, it's sure that we could refine our list a little bit more too, but the list actually looks pretty good. I would trick myself sometimes and be like, this doesn't apply, and then I would find the property that it was referencing. So we did pull the list, I think, 2 years ago, and I reused it, and I only got a couple people that said my address changed, so probably this year I'll update it as well. We just kind of scraped our database, and then we're able to figure that all out.
That's awesome. All right, well, great. If there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 5:45.